Friendship treaties from the perspective of Indigenous peoples. We also remain collectively accountable to respect Bow Valley College aims to uphold the intention of the numbered friendship treaties from the perspective of Indigenous peoples. We also remain collectively accountable to respect Indigenous peoples' legal and inherited rights, recognizing we are all treaty peoples. Through our words and our actions, Bow Valley College honors the traditional lands of the Blackfoot Confederacy, which includes the Siksika, the Gana, the Piikani, and the Amiskaapi-Piikani First Nations, as well as the Yahe Nakota, Wesley, Chiniki, and Bearspaw First Nations, and the Tsuut'ina First Nation. We also recognize the connection and autonomy of the Métis Nation Region 3 within the historical Northwest Métis homeland. We join all nations in celebrating the unique histories, traditions, and cultures of Indigenous peoples as we continue our journey on the road towards reconciliation together.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Okay. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Steve Porter. I'm with the B-Sides Organizing Committee. And welcome to B-Sides Calgary 2022. It's our first in-person one in a couple of years now. And first of all, can everybody hear me okay? No? Okay. You want me to beef it up a bit? Gotcha. I'm a little soft-spoken. I'm sorry. It's there. Nope. All right. So I got a few notes here. Just want to say welcome on behalf of the committee. Just to remind everybody, this conference is for you. I hope that everybody enjoys it. And we've got a great lineup of speakers and presenters throughout the next couple of days. I think we have 35 plus presenters. I think that's a bit of a record for B-Sides here. Oh, there we go. We've got all kinds of different challenges and workshops over the next couple of days as well. We have an IoT lab downstairs in the CTFs. We have some Wi-Fi hacking. Even have a Tesla outside if anybody wants to try to unlock that and drive it off the lot. I'm not kidding. If you hack the Tesla, you win a Tesla. How about that? I mean, it's a 1/18 scale model of the one outside, but it looks just like it. I mean, kind of count for something. All right, I'm getting laughs at 9 o'clock in the morning. This is good. So I wanted to give a little bit of background. First of all, how many people this is your first year for B-Sides Calgary? Wow. That's great. Thank you for coming. And I really know you're going to have a great time here. Make sure that, make the conference about you. Do the things you want to do. Attend the sessions you want to see. Do the challenges you want to do. Even if you're not a Wi-Fi hacking expert, go downstairs, learn it. See how it's done. Have some fun. This is a safe place for doing all of these things and not going to jail. That's what our careers are about. Let's face it. I'm going way off script here, but that's kind of me. I have a bad habit of doing that. Maybe that's why James asked me to do this in the first place. But yeah, so B-Sides Calgary, a little bit of background. We actually started this back in 2016. So we did our first two events up at SAIT. And you know what? The first year, we actually planned, organized, lined up all the presenters, got all the swag and sponsors and everything together in 4 months. It was kind of crazy. It was definitely stupid. But we did it. And it turned out to be a great event. And the number one feedback we got from it was, how come it took so long for us to do this? And are we doing it again? So we ended up doing it again the next year. and we intended on this being an annual event, and well, life got in the way, work got in the way, people got busy. So we took a little hiatus there for a couple years, and that's when we approached James Cairns, our lead organizer now, and Bow Valley College, and said, what about if you guys took it over? And that's when it started up again in 2020. So big shout out for James, our lead organizer, who's back here hiding behind the post from me, and everything that he's done to bring this event to you again for the past 3 years. Now, we did have a little hiccup, of course. We were supposed to be an in-person event back in 2020. Yeah, these lockdown things really kind of sucked, right? So in a matter of, I don't know, James, was it 3 months? We had to go from being a planned in-person event to online. And again, we pulled it out. None of us are professional event planners. Let me just say that, okay? We do our best. We manage to get things done. And then we thought maybe we'll be physical next year. And nope, again, that didn't happen. So here we are today, though, and we've got this together. We have a great turnout. We've sold 550 tickets, I believe. Yeah, okay. That's all we had accounted for. We couldn't sell any more, so I'm really, really excited about that. And thank you all for attending. Just out of curiosity, who was at the 2016 event? Okay, we got a couple. 2017? Anybody attended all 5 of them? 1? Okay, 2. That's all right. We got a lot of swag from the old events. If you want, you can give a donation, and you could try to win a raffle or pick up a grab bag. You can feel like you were there. A lot of the presentations are also online. So that's the other thing I should mention, is that everything we're doing here is being recorded. Sorry, not in any kind of weird way. It'll all be online later. It will. So if you do miss one of the talks or one of the tracks, you can go online in a few weeks. It'll be there, and you can watch it. And again, get all the sessions that you really want. I know what kind of a rabbit hole it is to go and start playing into CTF. And next thing, look at your watch and go, "Whoops, the day is over." So it'll all be there if you need it. The recordings from last year are up there now if you want to watch anything from there. And I think a lot of the other ones are on YouTube from the first 2 years. So with that, I'm just going to kind of hand it back to James and to our keynotes here. We have a great keynote for today from the Cloud Security Alliance, and I'm looking forward to it myself. And hopefully, like I said, everything goes well and everyone has fun. If you do have any questions, please feel free to tag one of us with the red lanyards. We're volunteers here. We can help you out if anything is not working right, or if you're looking for where you need to go for the next talks. And thank you again for showing up for B-Sides Calgary. Okay.
Thanks, Steve, and thanks everyone for being here. It wouldn't be a tech conference without some tech gremlins. As you can see, we're up here trying to do things and pulling cables and doing that. We've been doing that for about since about 4 o'clock yesterday, trying to make sure we got it right, and probably still don't. And we noticed the camera's starting to go off and do its own thing, so we'll figure it out as we go. Just ask that realize this is a grassroots conference. Really, we're not a big 15,000-20,000 member conference, so we're trying to do things. A lot of these people love the goodness of their heart, their time and effort to do this. We got a huge set of volunteers here today, and as well as also been here before yesterday as well as before this, setting this up. I wanted to say just a quick welcome here on behalf of both Bow Valley College and the B-Sides Committee as well. I get the distinct opportunity of being able to help plan and work among amazing set of people to get this event running and to deal with all the issues that come up with it, that we just want to make sure that we get this out for the community, by the community. So just want to make sure also to say thank you to our sponsors. Of course, Bow Valley College here as a platinum sponsor. They allow me to be able to take some of my time to be able to organize and contact you and see how to get people registered and everything like that. Also want to give thank you to our gold sponsors, Nozomi Networks, Microsoft, Secure Net Solutions, our silver sponsors, Trellix, Tech Democracy, ForcePoint, CrowdStrike, Phosphorus, Cisco Secure, CGI, and our bronze sponsor, MNP Digital, as well as Ion United for their sponsorship of the IoT Village. It's pretty amazing to have a village that was at DEF CON this year to be actually at this event here for a small group like us. Steve, you already took window on my sales. It was amazing to see we had over 550 people that have registered. We've got about 10% of our people that are at the event are actually online. So if you're online, hi. Too bad you're not here, but we're glad that you're joining in with us. Everything that we try to do here is, we're trying to make sure that everything goes through here as well as hop in. So even if you can't make it to one of the rooms here, you can pull it up on your browser outside one of our rooms. One of the big places that's an overflow area is just to the outside here of N231. There's a lot of room that people want to, not sit in really hard chairs. It's kind of more comfy. That's the place to be able to just kick back a little bit too. Other than that, one thing that we didn't have on the agenda before that came up is we do have our RF workshop at the CTF Village, running on both 11:25 to 12:15 on both days. So that's something, if you are interested in that, there is some seats there. It's limited seating, so make sure you get there ahead of time, I'm sure, to make sure you have that spot. Other than that, I am going to quit talking because I'm not a good public speaker and hand it over to the professionals, Illena and Sean. It's up to you now. Thank you very much. Demi,
Hi, how are you? Good. I have a big mouth, so I might have to stand back a little bit here, but I also need to see the screen. So let me see how do I move my slides forward on this? I'm going to do enter. There we go. So we're back. Cloud Security Alliance has been back doing physical events all year. We've been completely stoked about it. And we did go to RSA for the first time. Each year at RSA conference, we hold a summit on the Monday of that event, and it turned out great. Of course, we saw fewer people at the event, but hey, you're missing the Zoolander gift.
I think we're done that, yeah. You guys cut us off already.
Okay. All right, if you'll look over there. So why don't I just continue until we figure out what's happening? But we're back, and we're all about just meeting and greeting with new people, getting together with some of our members, etc. To tell you a little bit about the Cloud Security Alliance, we are a 500 corporate member strong nonprofit organization, vendor neutral. And along with that, we also have about 150,000 individual members across the globe who are typically part of our chapters. For our chapters, we have a little over 100 or so global chapters. So you could certainly look to participate in some of those as well. Thanks, James. I don't want to mess up anything.
Oh, good.
Because I would. All right.
And that's not the one that wants to share.
But the reason that we were established 14 or so years ago is really to work with the industry, public and private entities, to establish best practices, standards that would enable organizations to understand how to secure their cloud environments. And back in the day, of course, 14 years ago, for those of you who have been in the industry for a while like me, there were a ton of skeptics about cloud, right? But now here we are, and no. And we're just, the cloud has become foundational to everything we do. And we see that through the investments that are being made in some of the unicorn companies. Certainly, some of those organizations are getting much more VC funding than what you would typically see in the traditional cybersecurity and even hybrid organizations. And so it's a booming industry. It's a multi-billion-dollar market.
Really doesn't like it.
There we go. Are we good? Oh, there it is. Okay. We've been, throughout that 14-year span, we definitely have been creating a number of controls frameworks. We've been working with the likes of NIST and other organizations to ensure that we're getting, those security mappings together that organizations teams can use to deal with their ever-growing cloud environments. And on top of that, too, we did launch with training curriculum. So we have our certificate of cloud security knowledge, as well as our certificate of cloud auditing knowledge. That one we just launched about a year ago in partnership with ISACA. But that enables individuals to really validate their knowledge about cloud, which is extremely needed. And I'll get into that a little bit. And then we have another sort of validation, if you will, through our STAR program. And I'll talk about that in a bit more detail as well. But it's our Security, Trust Assurance, and Risk Registry. And there are all kinds of components that sort of support that registry you can check out to see if a service is meeting certain security controls that you would want to see them offer when you're working with them. So I just talked a little bit about this. I mean, organizations like Gartner and certainly us, through our research, we found that this is just a crazy business. Certainly COVID helped to accelerate the journeys of a number of companies' workloads to the cloud. And that even is for those large organizations, which was a little bit surprising to me. I thought they would have been a bit ahead of the game. Talked about this. Fact of the matter is, cloud is foundational to everything we do. And so there's really no business strategy without a cloud strategy at this point. Organizations, whether they like it or not, have to have it. And most are opting for a multi-cloud environment. Now, over the course of my 1.5 years of being with Cloud Security Alliance in this particular position, I have come across one organization that is all about one hyperscaler, and that's it. So, but most are definitely going multi-cloud for the many reasons that you see here. And that brings with it a number of concerns, skills. I don't think there's one CXO with whom I have spoken over the last 1.5 years who is not having trouble securing people for open positions. So they're definitely looking to upskill. They're coming to us. We're seeing a number of organizations come to us, not only to train their security teams or IT teams. Some want to also make sure that their HR departments are educated about the cloud and cloud security issues, procurement, et cetera. More and more of that is happening. But again, individuals can take the training too. So a multitude of concerns with that. And then on top of that multi-cloud strategy, where organizations might be opting to work with, let's say, 3 hyperscalers, you also have the number of disparate cloud services through SaaS, micro services, et cetera, that organizations also are using. And there are some CXOs who might not necessarily know what's in place, hence that, well, I think it's over maybe more than 100. Investments are in tools and service, training, security violations, cyber insurance. I'd be keen to find out if that still holds true. I just read an article that insurers are looking to up the cost by 174% and also increase the number of exclusions. So we'll see what happens. But all of this is an amalgamation of the day in the life of a CXO, where you have moments of euphoria and then maybe some sadness and anger and fear, especially if there's a regulator or an auditor coming at you. So CSA can help out. We're looking not only to work with you to help with today's pain points, but we want to make sure that we're addressing those in the future. And we do that through our research team. Sean is going to talk a little bit more about that. the education and certification that we offer, certainly a number of different events and focus groups and working with different constituents who are supporting particular initiatives, and then of course just networking. But let me hand it over to Sean. He's going to talk to you about some of the more recent research we've done and give you some practical tools that can help arm your teams to deal with cloud threats.
Awesome, thanks. Yeah, hi everyone. I really appreciate you having me here. So my name is SeanHeide. I am the Technical Research Director for Cloud Security Alliance. So essentially, we have a research portfolio that I help lead that encompasses things like enterprise architecture, so the adoption of cloud and controls when you're moving to a cloud environment. I also help lead, as you can see up on the screen, our top threats to cloud computing, which is one of our annual surveys that we help companies kind of focus on mitigations and techniques. I also help lead our CXO Trust, which is our CISO and executive working group, to kind of help enterprises better understand at the CISO level how they need to be interacting with the business, how to approach the business, and what security means to an entire enterprise space. So this is one of, honestly, maybe I'm a bit biased, one of our best releases we usually have annually. This specific one, the top threats to cloud computing, the Pandemic 11, this was our 6th installment of this. We've been doing this survey for quite some time. So year to year, what we actually do is we will compile a list of what the industry sees with the working group on the top threats, the risks that we're seeing, any breaches that have happened, and what was the factor behind that. So we compile a list of about 40 or 50 items, and then we scale that down for surveys. So what we do is we push a survey out, and the whole purpose behind the survey is to give you, the general community, a voice in actually being able to say, yes, I agree that these should be ranked in this specific order. All of that culminates into this actually being created into a top threats document that businesses can utilize to find mitigations techniques, business impacts, which I will actually show you on one of the next slides. This is an expert-driven series. Our members and volunteers in this working group are some of the best minds in the business. They work at Fortune 500s. They're dealing with risks day to day. So when you take a look at this top threats to cloud computing, I suggest everyone download this from the CSA website. It's something that you can take a look at from a novice perspective all the way to an expert, because there's going to be a little bit of something for everyone in this release. Now, these results are often the result of shared on-demand nature of cloud. So everything that we report in here as far as a threat or a risk is something that has been seen in a cloud instance over the last, I would say, 2 years. So we do this annually, but we backdate it to about 2 years. This specific one covered all of the pandemic. It was crazy times. We saw such a massive shift to cloud that we had some new findings, which I'll show you on the next slide. So as you can see, these were the 11 that we came up with. Like I said, you start with 40 on the survey. We had 11 that were so narrowly gapped in percentages that that's where the cutoff is. A lot of people ask me, well, how do you find 11? It's been 11 the last 2 times. It's been 12 on one of them. What we do is we find the deviation for that percentage. So 11 to 12, that was a massive gap that we said, well, okay, so people probably aren't identifying with number 12 and on. So we'll just keep that tightly knit group to the 11. And funny enough, the number one, so identity and access management, basically privileged accounts, that is the number one top threat or risk that enterprises have seen over the last 2 years during the pandemic. Now, funny enough, pre-pandemic, that was actually number 4 on the list. Not many people actually cared about things like IAM or privileged identity management. And so what we saw was all of these things that cloud was super involved with, like insecure interface and APIs and lack of architecture that were previously really low or maybe not even on this list, they all shifted upwards. And I think we can all kind of correlate why, because when we went remote with all of our jobs during the pandemic, we had a different focus. We had new tech stacks, we had new applications we had to push through. I mean, it was a headache. It still is a headache. But now the things that people saw during those times were some of the key steps that we should have been focusing on all along. And I think it really started showing who is on our network, who is on our computers, how do we secure these things? And so as we go down this list, you can kind of see these steps are step by step for most standards and guidelines, CIS critical controls, NIST frameworks. These were all basic concepts that are now being correlated to the cloud. If we look at 5 and 6, insecure software development and unsecure third-party resources, these didn't exist on previous surveys. And funny enough, I think as businesses had to start building your own products, you had to start leveraging your development teams a lot more. You had to bring in all these SaaS applications. You had no clue if they were secure. How do you do a security review? These started showing up on the report. And so it started to kind of shape this story like, okay, we need to focus on this. As a business, we have to focus on these key items. So this is bringing top threats to life. So when you download the report or take a look at any of our research that we're doing in regards to top threats, this is one of the first pages you'll see in that actual report. So as I said, privileged accounts, access and key management are security issue number 1. What we do is provide a very granular, homegrown, detailed description of what this means to us. So our volunteers, our experts come in. We're not actually picking, a regular description. We're coming through and making sure that this is exactly detailing what that description is for the security issue. And what we also wanted to provide security has an issue to the business executive teams. It's really, really hard to tell them, hey, we need this tool. We need to focus on this. And, maybe getting turned down, maybe some of you have a little bit better access to those with your management teams. But the whole point of this report for this section was to provide a business impact description. So you can say, okay, we have a privileged account issue. We're not doing identity and access management the best we can. How do I tell this to the business now? So we wanted to provide key highlights there on the business impacts. So you can go from here, find one of the security issues as a use case, and you already kind of have a pre-built notion of what you can say now to your security teams and your executive teams. As well, on the right-hand side, one of the most important things that I think I continuously fight with people on this, on understanding cloud, is there is a shared responsibility, everyone. It's a lot of people still to this day assume, okay, we're in the cloud, they have security controls, we can trust it. That I promise you that is not the case. There's always going to be a shared responsibility that you need to focus on when it comes to securing your enterprise space. So what we offer is a secure responsibility, our security responsibility model, which, if you see the green check mark, this one is going to be customer. So identity and access management, you as a customer, that is your sole responsibility to provide for your business, to ensure that you're doing roles and responsibilities, you're doing privileged identity management, access management, that you're doing those correctly, and that's on you. And so it's up to you to find those standards, and that's what we provide here, is kind of a baseline for finding those controls that you can actually start implementing these things. We also identify the architecture and the cloud service models that these impact. So of course, across platform infrastructure and software, identity and privileged accounts is across all of those things. And I guess before that, also in the report that is super handy is we have a STRIDE model. For those of you who understand the STRIDE threat modeling, we provide a mapping to STRIDE and the impacts of those security risks, as well as our cloud controls matrix, which if you're trying to understand what controls can get implemented for your specific cloud infrastructure, take a look at our cloud controls matrix. And then when you take a look at the actual top threats report, you can kind of start getting a feel for, okay, these controls go here. And so what we did was we mapped it for you. In the report itself, we did our best guess on what controls would be mitigations in prescriptive measures to kind of get a handle on that initially. Now, the purpose of the top threats report is kind of to build a use case for yourself. If you're new to security, if you're a student or if you're an expert in the field who's been doing this a while, I do please say take a look at that report, because what it's going to do is provide you the ability to build a use case on what's happening in the threat landscape, things companies are seeing day to day, and the things they should have done or should be doing to help mitigate those items. Now, one of the fun things we've been doing is cloud threat modeling. So it's another one of the things in my research portfolio that I help lead. This last year, I think we've done 4 of these tabletop exercises. One was for an executive tabletop, which we ran through business profiles for executives. And then we also did 2 in Minnesota and North Carolina, where we actually had every like everyone in this room would have the chance to do it. Doesn't matter your role, your expertise, you have a place at that table to be able to kind of help build a role in what that looks for cloud threat modeling. So when you go into a business, if you're not doing tabletops as a fundamental exercise, I don't think you're ever going to really truly understand how other businesses, like business departments, function when it comes to security. Everyone has a role in security, and so the ability to look at cloud threat modeling and bring that in, even for fun, if you're doing it in your free time or if you're taking it to your business, everyone needs to at least consider doing threat modeling. So we actually have a cloud threat modeling document we released with game cards. It's really fun. We're really trying to build the gamification of cloud security. We're doing a D&D style for those of you who are into dice games. We're trying to do a Go Fish style game. So we're really trying to make it practical so people get a hands-on experience with it instead of just reading a standard. Yeah, it's fun if you like to read, but a lot of us are hands-on technical people. So we wanted to bring that to the table so you could see in real time how a threat meets a certain vulnerability, how it meets a certain mitigation. So we're trying to build that out with doing these tabletops as well. And so this was bridging the gap between threat modeling and cloud. The cloud threat modeling guidance pulls from the top threats document you just saw. So every top threat that you see from the previous report is going to be incorporated into this. So you can kind of take a look at how controls from whether it's the cloud controls matrix, whether it's MITRE ATT&CK or OWASP top 10, we map those together so you can build a very complex picture in a simple manner and kind of see how you would mitigate that in your own enterprise space. So the key takeaways for this is baseline threat modeling processes and learning how to create cloud threat modeling from scratch. We will tell you how to do it if you're a novice or how to build on that if you've been doing this for a while. And this is really foundational cloud threat modeling. This is at its simplest form, and we're always looking for key takeaways. So if you have suggestions on something better that you think would fit within the cloud threat modeling that we didn't take notice of, we're always open to that with our working group. And so we would love for you to join. Even if you're never done this before, been in a working group, you can be a fly on the wall, or you can come and join us and provide as much expert opinion as you would like. Okay, one of the cool things we're actually doing also is our Cloud Cyber Incident Sharing Center, or Cloud CISC in other words. This was in a partnership with IT-ISAC. So it's an incident response and incident sharing, intelligence sharing platform that we have at CSA now for members. What we're doing is we're leveraging a platform to help kind of create this idea that everyone should be sharing their information when they see something suspicious in their network. The issue is with a lot of businesses that we're seeing, there's not a lot of money for tooling. There's not a lot of money for experts in risk identification, vulnerability management. But what we can do is provide something where you have a place to get that data. Now, things do exist. AT&T has a great sharing platform. IT-ISAC has tons of resources. We brought that into CSA, so anyone who is a member or volunteering and wanting a centralized location to pull information from, we've helped leverage that. It's really helping teams who otherwise wouldn't have the funding or the tooling necessary to kind of understand what all these risks are that's happening and these vulnerabilities other businesses are sharing. What we're really trying to adopt is this mindset that we shouldn't work in a silo. Security works best when everyone is coming together, when you're sharing incidents or vulnerabilities, something came up on a scan that someone else can get some usefulness for you. It may not be useful for you, but someone who doesn't have a very well-developed shop in their business space, that might be very, very critical for them. And so it's really important to get this mindset of, okay, cyber incident sharing, how do I get involved? Where do I start? We have 50 current active users and members across the enterprise space that are actively using this. If anyone has ever used a threat intelligence platform, essentially what our users are doing are going to a web page, emails, anything they see, there is a built-in application where you just report it. So if you see a vulnerability come through on Twitter, on Reddit, if there's any thread you see, you can actually add it to the platform and start building kind of a threat intelligence model from there.
And also very quickly on the CISC, we haven't made any formal announcement about it, but we intend to. We started with only our North American members, onboarding them, and we've now expanded out to global members. And the reason we were taking a phased approach, obviously, is we have to be careful to maintain that trusted environment that we're building with the ITI-SAC for our members. So organizations that might be owned by state governments, or they might be on a U.S. sanction list, those, even if they're our members, are going to be excluded. So as a result of that, one thing that we intend to do is not only use the information, all the threat indicators that we're collecting through the CISC, to build some really practical, informative guides for our members, our corporate members, where we will take some of that data and see how we can build some trend reports, and also how it might be forming sort of a foundation for our research team to, again, suss out some of the timely topics that we can share with the wider industry. And that harkens back to our mission to offer some free resources to the wider industry. So with key initiatives, very quickly, about a year and a half ago, we did a soft launch of our CXO Trust Initiative. I'll talk a little bit about that. This year, we launched our Zero Trust Advancement Center. There's a heck of a lot going on with that. We have a research working group. I just finished composing our first phase of a expert steering committee. I'm working with John Kindervog, who we brought on to help lead the charge in that way. Again, no formal announcements. We're having the first meeting, I want to say at the end of November, after which we'll start announcing who's involved, but we're definitely working with the typical organizations one would expect: CISA, MITRE, NIST, all those guys. And then the CSA STAR we mentioned earlier, we'll talk a little bit about that. We also are finding, from talking to our members and other contacts in the industry, that financial services could use some support when it comes to their cloud initiatives. We are focusing on first releasing sort of a state of cloud with financial services, and then we will have a 2-day virtual event come February 23rd. 2023, next year. And of course, the other thing that we're trying to tackle is just the vulnerabilities that are afoot and continue to rise in number. Traditional means to understand the vulnerabilities that need to be addressed can be a little bit slow. We're trying now with our GSD effort to make it a bit more open source, if you will, and a lot quicker. And Sean will get into that too. So the CXO Trust, we have been working with a number of CIOs, CISOs, et cetera, through our membership, through our chapter organizations for years and years and years. But this effort really is looking to ensure that we're bringing in the CEOs, the COOs, all of those, the C-suite, all of those members of the C-suite who have a vested interest in ensuring that their cloud environments, which are, their source of compute, are safe and sound. And we're kind of taking a phased approach. So we first launched with the tabletop exercises at the CXO Summit last year. We partnered with some of our friends at Starbucks to help lead that. Went over very well. We hadn't done that in a while, and I thought it was pretty important that we get that going. We also now, this last event, our September event for our CXO Trust, we worked with another organization called Security Innovation. And the refrain we kept hearing over and over again during that event is that we need, security executives need more support in educating their boards and talking to other executives. So that's going to be a key part of this initiative going forward. We've had a number of meetings, some of the members of the research team, some of the members from the CTO's office at CSA, with quite a few different organizations that offer different means to deliver training. And so it's my intent that we could build a pool of partners and then deliver different aspects. But we're also talking to some of our friends about some, micro learnings, if you will, which we've already launched. The advisory council, it's reserved for our corporate members only. We have, close to 40 members there. We meet 6 times a year, but we're also going to them to get insight and advice when we're creating the curriculum for Zero Trust, for example, when we're hearing something about, I'm working with them now, for example, on a statement regarding Uber. So they're just extremely committed to helping us evolve the different offerings that we have for for the industry. And then in addition to that, we also have the research working group, which Sean mentioned earlier. Our first piece was the CISO perspectives and progress in deploying zero trust. So we did wed 2 initiatives to see what's cooking that front. And it was especially we felt that there was an especially key need there because as we kept getting requests for consulting meetings with some of our members, there just seemed to be a lot of confusion about zero trust. And RSA didn't really help much. You walk the floor, and I don't know if there was one company that wasn't touting zero trust in some manner, and that's just the way it goes when these companies jump on like, whoa, NAC, let's talk about NAC. We don't do it, but hey, buy our stuff. They're not all like that. I should say that they're not all like that. Members, just a couple, not our members. So, but with that said, well, I'm also working with our chapters, a few key chapters to start, where we're trying to establish more regional or vertically focused steering committees. So we're kind of getting that, spread viewpoints across the globe, leveraging all of the members who are engaged with us. Content development. Going to do some new membership offerings like town halls and develop a resource library. We've got plenty. Training offerings, already talked about that. We're working on that diligently right now. Sean and his team will be working on a research calendar. And then, still more regional virtual events, as well as we have a job board through something called our Circle platform. It's a social platform, and it's all good, but it could be so much better. And so there's a business plan in place for us to have a much more robust career platform that will meet a number of different needs. And so we're looking at building out the wireframes there. So now Sean's going to talk about zero trust.
Yes, thank you. Show of hands, who here actually... Okay, that's actually not as many as I thought. So as we talked about earlier, we had the release of the CISO Perspectives in Progress in Deploying Zero Trust survey. What this did was really dive into the executive mindset of the struggles they have had, what they have seen when deploying zero trust. I mean, it's a topic and a word that we hear a lot about, but we really don't know the depth and granularity behind it. Much of my research, I've established businesses are doing it. They just don't know that they're doing it. And that kind of showed in this survey report. It really showed the maturity and level and the priority of zero trust. Should people be doing it? Yes. Are we? Maybe. And it showed the benefits and drivers toward adopting zero trust, challenges, and the investment that's actually needed for it. Because zero trust is a massive investment that requires, a lot of tools, a lot of configurations, a lot of expertise. And is the market there right now, or is the industry there right now? Maybe, but it comes back to finding the right talent, and even training people, which is what CSA is addressing with our training program. And these are just a few things. I wanted to show this on the next slide are just a few things out of that actual survey itself. The level of priority and trust you have in your organization in regards to zero trust. Medium priority, I guess that's fine. It's a topic word, like I said. Everyone kind of answered this how I thought they would. Where's the implementation process of zero trust within the strategy to your organization? Now, this one's interesting to me, maybe not to anyone else. I usually find the weird stuff in a lot of these surveys. But they're 33% and 37% are in the planning phases. Now, I kind of find that a little contradicting to the 20% in implementing. I think the implementations are actually a bit higher these days. So if you're using things like Okta, Azure, CrowdStrike, these are all things that actually in some way or the other have a zero trust impact, a zero trust footprint, but are you correlating that to actually identify what part of zero trust it has? CISA has laid out the pillars for zero trust and what it means, and through your networks, your apps, anything to do with identity and access management. Are you correlating those things that you're doing to actually how it coincides with zero trust? Odds are you might be, but if you take a little bit deeper look, I think you're doing a lot more than you think you are. And that's just kind of my personal opinion on the zero trust matter when we actually do these surveys. And, you know, it's good to see these numbers, but I just beg people to look to see how much you've actually implemented. And I think it would be quite the surprise. Has your organization benefited from the Zero Trust initiative? Now, staggering. This is a very staggering number. 63% said mostly, but needs some improvement. This correlates to the last slide we just showed you. You know, we are doing Zero Trust, but I think 63% that says needs some improvement. I think if you focus on what you're doing and tying it back to a standard framework, getting the education and knowledge on what Zero Trust is fundamentally, I think you're along a lot further than you think. And it's not bad to need improvement, but I don't think people are giving themselves enough credit or identifying the areas where they're already doing this. So we have a Zero Trust Advancement Center with CSA. What we wanted to do, like I've been talking about, is bringing the knowledge into one centralized location for everyone to learn. So we're bringing the experts to you through our Zero Trust Advancement Center. It's not going anywhere. It's where we're headed. It's been proven that it works. And so we found that, well, where's the knowledge and education on it? So we're trying to really build that into a central location where everyone can learn. And it's a philosophy on informing strategy on Zero Trust. And we wanted to do identity as a foundation, continuous verification. It's technology neutral. So we do the best practices that are relevant for each implementation. Because at CSA, we remain vendor neutral. We're never going to favor anyone. We're going to find the best thing that works for you. We're going to provide you the best education and knowledge without leaning towards one direction. And, you know, sometimes some people do lean towards one direction a little too hard and lose sight on the other side on things that can actually help supplement those things. So we're trying to help curate that at CSA. We're going to be coming out with a Zero Trust training curriculum and Q2 2023, if it stays on track, Certificate of Zero Trust Knowledge. This is to help complement our CCSK and CCAK certifications that we currently have, which in the most basic description, they are very, very good if you've never had hands-on experience in cloud for CCSK, or if you are experienced in technology and security, maybe you are just now touching cloud. These are all meant to kind of help complement your career. There's not really one level, I would say, that you meet where you wouldn't have to take that. I think it's generally a good refresher, no matter your level. We will have our Zero Trust Online Summit next month. Are we in October? We are. It will be next month. And so we have a very good lineup of speakers for that. A lot of people that are going to bring a lot of wealth, knowledge. I think I'm hosting a panel discussion on the current, future, and past of Zero Trust. So if anyone is going to be attending that, it's going to be a really good time and a lot of topics that I think are going to be eye-opening over the last 2 years during the pandemic to now and where Zero Trust is going to be headed. And this is open for research participation. So our Zero Trust group, if you are interested or have a working knowledge, you know, this is for any of our working groups. We ask you come volunteer, be a voice in the group, be a fly on the wall. It really doesn't matter. We love attendance and we love all backgrounds. And so please, if you would like to volunteer for that, we do suggest that. So when you go to the Zero Trust Advancement Center on the CSA webpage, this is the curation of all of the content I was talking about. So we provide the architectures, guidance, policies, any recordings that we have currently done on Zero Trust. We have reports. So the CISO Perspectives report, DHS CISA draft report. And then we also offer the standards that are out there currently for Zero Trust. And this is what I said, we're trying to curate the best of the best that's already been done. Everyone hears this in technology and security, never reinvent the wheel. It is so true for Zero Trust. Everyone is doing something that can help someone else.
Okay, so this harkens back to one of the key initiatives that I mentioned earlier regarding our security, trust assurance, and risk ecosystem, if you will. If you go to our website right now, you'll be able to see the registry and look up different companies and find out if they are meeting security requirements that you would want them to meet if you were to work with them. And the way that we do this is and this is where I think we need, the onus is ours to ensure that our constituents understand how this ecosystem works of all of the different frameworks and questionnaires that we've created over the years. And we update. I think right now on CCM we're on like version 4 or something.
Version 4, yeah.
All right. So the cloud controls matrix, if you check that out, it has, I want to say 197 control objectives that fall under 17 domains. Thank you. And so we then mapped the cake to that CCM so that and I say the cake because we're a bunch of acronyms in this industry, but it's the Consensus Assessment Initiative Questionnaire, henceforth known as CAKE. And so organizations can leverage CAKE to ask the questions of their providers and make sure that they're meeting their security obligations. The CCM also allows that if you want to take a very strategic assessment of your cloud environments and really make sure that you're meeting those particular security controls. It also will point out for organizations the pros, the professionals in that ecosystem that are responsible for certain frameworks, certain controls, certain objectives. So it's a pretty comprehensive, and all of that goes into supporting the STAR registry. Those pieces are what we leverage for organizations to get either self-assessment 1 or 2, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then through the launch of the CCAK training, we're also helping individuals, get some knowledge on what it takes to be an auditor and what they need to know about the CCM and using the CAKE and all that jazz. So that's the ecosystem, and that's what the STAR registry is all about. What we found over the last 2 years is that there have been individuals who have stood up chapters in different parts of the world because they found that their governments are now requiring the cloud providers in those regions meet the self-assessment 1 of our STAR registry in order to operate there, in order to sell their products to federal agencies there. Italy's one, Saudi Arabia is another, and there are a few others. So that's just blowing up, and we've got a number of partnerships that we'll be announcing over the course of 2023. But we can get into the details real quick if you want to talk about. I mean, it's self-explanatory, but
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
The STAR program in its simplest form, and like I was saying, when businesses during the pandemic didn't understand how to do a security review of applications, that's really what this is helping supplement. The CAKE in its truest form is to give to the vendor and make sure they are hitting the key controls and domains that you would want to see to help secure your enterprise space. So it's helpful in that instance. And even if they aren't in CSA STAR registry, you can actually help guide a lot of this discussion. So if your focus is on security for your business for applications or procurement, this is a starting point for you to have that discussion with vendors. Be like, hey, have you filled out a CAKE before? Do you know what the CAKE is? Maybe not. Well, here it is. Can you please fill it out, get it back to me? You can actually let them know, hey, can you send this in to put in to CSA's registry? And then that way, the next time another company asks for it, it's already there, it's published, and there's proof of it. Now, when we talk about STAR, the cloud assurance ecosystem, the STAR level 1 is what I just told you about, is that self-assessment. That's via the CAKE or having a company go through the cloud controls matrix down the list and verifying that they're meeting all of these controls for their product. You can also do STAR level 2, which is third-party assessments, but this is using an assessor network. So this is actually having the auditors follow a guideline, go through and make sure you're actually hitting that. Just like any other SOC audit that you would go through, PCI is kind of like that, just utilizing the CCM and the CAKE models. Like I said, the STAR registry is an extensible API, and it's meant to just store all of this. And the idea behind it is it's visible to everyone. Anyone who wants to put in their security controls and the criteria they're meeting, they can do so. And it kind of opens up this ease then that, okay, they're focused on security. There was some due diligence there. They did this. Awesome. Let's move forward with procurement, for whoever it may be. We have STAR extended programs. So this is custom programs to extend the STAR and then also embedded, which is a licensing program that CSA offers as well. Did you want to touch on this?
And this just talks about some of the partnerships we have with all of our different frameworks. We are absolutely working with any of the name an organization. We're probably working with them. Definitely looking to map our CCM to different other sort of standards and frameworks. So the Cyber Risk Institute is an organization focused on the financial arena, and they have their cloud protection profile. We've gone through a first phase of mapping our CCM to their profile. We're now onto a second phase and making some really great headway there. We also have partnered with the Motion Picture Association to make CCM their standard for their members as well. And as I noted, we're talking to a number of other different organizations and the around the globe. And GSD is very important if you want to.
Yeah, definitely. Raise of hands. Who here knows what a CVE is, uses them? Just get a show of hands really quick. Awesome. We're reinventing that. So we have vulnerabilities and exploits. So our global security database is to not take over, but to kind of help provide a quicker way to respond to vulnerabilities that you're seeing in software and applications. If you've dealt with CVEs, it could take months sometimes to find something that's been exploited and have a correction or a pathway for a mitigation for it. And especially for those of you who are going down to the IoT shop later, going to try to steal a Tesla. These are things that we need to know about so we can have corrective action if you're on a blue team or a red team. It kind of helps either side, right? And so this is going to be vulnerability disclosure in a consistent manner. I won't say it's terrible now, but there is inconsistency with the flow of the current vulnerabilities that come out and the reporting methods on them. Through the global security database, we're trying to help curate this process in a quicker manner with on-demand issuance of security identifiers, tools to automate all of that, and the ability of where all of that ingress is coming from at a quicker rate of pace, and also to help enable the tools you're already using so you can pull from the global security database into your already required tool set. If something's coming at a quicker rate into your tools, that's just better for you to help identify vulnerabilities. So this is something that we're currently working on with a lot of people. It is catching wind currently from my current opinion. So this, if you're in the vulnerability space, if you reference CVEs frequently, if it's something you research, take a look at the global security database. I think it might interest you, even if you want to come help and volunteer if there's something you're experienced in there. Again, I harp on this all the time. I am the research director, so I love people coming in and helping with research. This is something that is going to grow fast, and it's an opportunity to really help establish that. And I believe, you want me to touch on the events?
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. So like I said, in November, we have our Zero Trust Virtual Summit. It's going to be awesome. The lineup, fantastic. In February of next year, that's coming up really fast, our Financial Services Virtual Summit. And then our CSA Summit, which we have at RSA, which is going to be in April. I believe we are going to have a lot more lineup of speakers for the CSA side of RSA. So if you're going there, stop by, talk to us, and I think we can go from there.
Yeah, I mean, we do have a booth at Black Hat and RSA conference on an annual basis, so you could always come to the booth and hang out. But we definitely have a number of events at those, major events for the industry as well. And very quickly, as far as the virtual summit for financial services, February 15th and 16th. I just learned that, so we've got that scheduled. But that kind of wraps it up. We hit you with a lot of stuff, but we're definitely, we're moving full speed ahead. So any questions? I know we tried to keep time. Did we? Good, James? Okay. If you'd like to talk to us about working with any of the research working groups, or you want to learn more about training or any of that jazz, don't hesitate to approach us, or just reach out by LinkedIn. We're happy to help. So
Thanks for everyone.
Thank you.